All right, so I know I promised to go over the trapping law that has restricted trapping in Idaho due to it being in grizzly habitat, and I'm going to, but I want to start out with just statistics on wolves in Idaho and how we got to where we are today. And then just a little bit about how wolves have changed the landscape here in Idaho. I plan on doing some more educational pieces with different states and different laws and how hunting is just being attacked, hunting and trapping, and we're being attacked as a whole, and we need to band together to fight this. And I'll go into that later, but today's video is going to be about wolves specifically. And I gave a presentation a couple of weeks ago, and this is going to be part of my original presentation. I was asked not to give out any statistics during that presentation and just teach strictly how to hunt and trap wolves. So today I'm going to give out those statistics, and those are taken straight from the Idaho Fish and Game Wolf Management Plan, the 2023 to 2028 Wolf Management Plan. So let's start at the beginning. And in my previous presentation, I wasn't going to give my opinion on those statistics. Today I am. So, wolves were introduced by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services in 1995 when they released 15 wolves. In 1996, they released 20 more. So by 2002, we had met our recovery goal in Idaho. With U.S. Fish and Wildlife's recovery plan for wolves, they focused on the Northern Rocky Mountain population segment, and the original recovery goal for the whole Northern Rocky Mountain population segment, which includes Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, the eastern third of Oregon and Washington, and then a small portion of Utah. For that whole area, their recovery goal was 1,100, and they stated that the maximum long-term carrying capacity was 1,500 wolves in all of those states. And if we got to that long-term carrying capacity, over time we'd see a lot of livestock conflict with wolves and also a decline in our ungulate population. Well, sorry, I have my presentation right here so I don't ramble on and on. The last count that Idaho did, the wolf population count, which is 2022, because I've heard that they've pushed back releasing the 2023 wolf count until this upcoming July. So the last population count was 1,337. So we, in just the state of Idaho alone, have almost the long-term carrying capacity for the whole Northern Rocky Mountain population segment. So obviously we are seeing a decline in ungulate populations. I know there's a podcast going around where the guy's saying our elk numbers are better than ever. Yeah, if you go on Fish and Game, you can find all the information there. And the information I found is that we are currently 29 units in Idaho are currently below elk management objectives. And that's not including the Panhandle or the southern states, because there are no management objectives for those areas. So that's just basically the middle of the state. I'll throw up a picture in my story, or maybe after this presentation in the next slide, but it's a graph I found, and so we're actually not doing great. Maybe in portions of the state where wolves are not bountiful, but yeah, and that's, like I said, not including the Panhandle, which has a large wolf population, and the southern portion of Idaho, because they haven't set an elk management objective. So how do we get these counts? How do we get this wolf population count? The way it's done in Idaho currently is with 560, yes, you heard me right, 560 game cams throughout the entire state of Idaho. And they randomly go off, and if they catch a wolf, then they do use some sort of algorithm to estimate how many wolves are in that area. Well, there's a problem there. 560 game cameras in the state of Idaho is a large problem. I have friends that run 100 game cams just for themselves. Also, they don't count the Selway or the Frank Church Wilderness. So it's my personal belief that that estimate is likely low. But again, what do I know? So let's move in to all the issues wolves have caused in Idaho. And some of these we foresaw coming if we reach this heavily wolf populated state of affairs. And some I don't think anybody could have anticipated or thought about. And it's just such a multifaceted problem with the introduction of wolves. And so let's get into it. So like I said, I went on about elk numbers already. And I didn't touch on the livestock depredation. So since 2014, there have been 1,291 confirmed cattle kills by wolves, which has affected at least 299 livestock producers. So that costs them time, it costs them money, and when it's confirmed, they get reimbursed, but when it's not confirmed, they don't. So it's a big issue, especially if you like your beef. And what else have we seen? What other issues have we seen wolves cause? So we've seen elk behavior change. I know when we say, oh, you know, as a hunter, you'll say the elk numbers are down, and you have a buddy that says, oh, I was just driving down the highway, I saw a ton of elk, our numbers aren't down. Well, that's because the elk behavior has changed. I'm not saying that there's no elk in the timber. Of course there are. I still hunt them, you guys still hunt them, but a lot of elk have learned to push down onto private property in these fields where they feel safe, they can look around, they can see if a wolf pack's coming in, and they're closer to humans. And wolves, while they'll still, like I said, attack cattle, they're a little more leery to come down into heavier human populated areas. We've also, with the elk coming down, they're calving down there, and this is becoming generational behavior that they've had to adapt to due to wolves, but it's really affecting not only hunters, but the farmers. The elk are eating the farmers' crops, and they're eating the ranchers' feed that they feed their own cattle. So it's costing a ton of money for these people, and it's a huge issue. That's one thing I don't think we anticipated, was with the change in elk behavior, it would affect us as humans. And then just hunting in general. Yes, I still hear elk bugle, but not as frequently, especially in those heavier wolf populated areas, because when an elk bugles, yes, I get to hear it, but the elk knows wolves will locate it as well. So they bugle less frequently. One big issue I'm recently starting to notice is I know a lot of houndsmen. I have friends that know a lot of houndsmen, and talking to these guys, a lot of them are done running hounds because wolves are very territorial, and when another canine is in their area, they kill it. And so these houndsmen who spend all this time and effort and money on these hounds are seeing their hounds turn up dead when they're in wolf territory. So these houndsmen are just done. They're done running hounds because it's not worth the heartache. You lose an animal, that's difficult, and the time and the money and the effort that they've put into it. But what does that mean with our houndsman population going down? It means I foresee in the future our cougar population is going to skyrocket because hounds are the most effective way to hunt cougars. Houndsmen also do a great job of keeping our bear population down as well. But cougars, I would say, are their main, what houndsmen I really appreciate them for, because everyone can go hunt bears, but it's a lot harder to go out and hunt a cougar without hounds. So it's going to be interesting. It just means we're going to have another predator on our landscape in Idaho that's the population's out of control. Another thing that we're observing, this is through myself and people I've talked with and articles I've read online, is that we are seeing wolves chase cougars off of their kills, so the cougars are having to kill again and again. So indirectly, these wolves are causing more ungulate kills and a decrease in our population. So why wolves? Why am I so focused on them as opposed to bears and cougars? I know, again, I don't know if it's the same podcast or a different one is going around where they're talking about bears are the big problem. They're the worst predator. Focus on bears. And while I do agree, bears destroy calves and fawns. They do. They wreak havoc on them. But the difference between wolves and bears and cougars is that bears and cougars have offspring once every other year. Usually they're having 1 to 2 offspring, and you'll get the outline 4, but usually 1 to 2. Well, wolves breed annually, and in Idaho, the average litter size is 4.6. But I'm going to liken wolves here to domestic dogs, and in no way are they their behaviors are like domestic dogs, but just think of, there are similarities. Think of your domestic dog. How many of you have had litters of pups with 8 or 10 or 12? I've had friends that have run into wolf litters of 13. So yes, that's the average, but again, I'd be interested to know how they're getting that if they can't count the population properly. And of course, that's the average. You're going to have more. Maybe some years they have less. But in my experience, I've seen a lot more pups than just 4.6. So they breed quickly, is my point in all that, is why they're different from any other predator. Left unmanaged, wolves will reproduce. Their population will grow 40% annually. That's why management with wolves is so stinking important. And they're also pack animals, so they hunt extremely effectively. And each pack in Idaho, the average is 6.4 wolves per pack. Again, I've seen packs of 12. I've had people see packs of 15. So again, that's just an average, but there's more. And with the breeding of wolves, again, I'm going to compare your domesticated dog to a wolf. If you have a male dog and he smells a female and he is going to do everything he can to breed her. We have been told that only the male and female, the alpha male and alpha female are the breeding pair, and those are the only ones that breed. That is not the case. There's pictures of multiple wolves pregnant in these packs. Some have had their litters already. And so if a female wolf goes into heat, a male is going to try to breed her. So we're finding now that they are having multiple litters within these packs. So that's how the population has grown so quickly. It's just one of the, unfortunately, most successful reintroductions of an animal. And wolves, now, another reason I focus on them is because on average, an average adult wolf will eat 16 to 28 big game animals per year. So that's a lot when you're talking about a pack of wolves eating that many, each of them eating that many big game animals per year. But that number does not include surplus killings. So what's a surplus killing? Well, it's a maiming. So an elk or a wolf takes a bite out of an elk and decides it's not hungry and walks away, and that elk dies. That's a surplus killing, and those are not included in the wolf numbers of what the wolves are eating, because that number only includes consumption. So, and it would be impossible for them to include these surplus killings and count that, but it's just something to think about why wolves are so devastating. And when people say, no, wolves only kill what they eat, that's just not true, and that's based off of pure observation of somebody that is in the woods in wolf country all the time. And all of my friends and other hunters I've talked to across the state, we are constantly coming across wolf kills that have not been eaten. And why do they do this? Well, it's their wolf instinct, right? If you take your dog and it's not trained and you take it to some ranch and a sheep runs by, your dog's going to give chase and mess with that sheep. A wolf does the same thing. A deer runs by, its instinct is to chase. It hamstrings it, messes with it, rips it apart a little bit, gets bored, realizes it wasn't hungry. No fault of the wolf, it's just their instinct. The wolf walks away, the animal eventually dies, and those numbers we just can't keep track of. Another way of surplus killing is spontaneous abortion. So when wolves chase down an elk herd in the winter with those pregnant moms, the stress can cause a spontaneous abortion, thus decreasing our ungulate population. And with that, in those winter months when those animals, the ungulates, are having a hard time surviving due to lack of food and just stressful winters, getting chased down to the point of exhaustion, the stress and exhaustion can also cause death, even if they weren't even bitten. So it's a multifaceted issue here. So why are wolves so hard to manage? Idaho Fish and Game has recently done a great job with allowing us as hunters and trappers to manage them, but we're not keeping up with them, and I honestly don't think we ever will, short of extreme measures, because wolves each wolf pack has a territory, and these are stats in Idaho, of 250 square miles. So what that means for you is you have to find a pack within 250 square miles, which is extremely hard. And on top of that, wolves can and will run up to 20 miles per day. So if you locate them one day, they could be 20 miles away the next. So it's very hard for a human to keep up, which is why trapping is actually a lot more effective than hunting, to manage them. But then on top of that, wolves also have excellent memory recall. They're extremely intelligent. And so if you miss a shot or if it's a pressured pack, they're going to be that much harder to hunt because they've now been educated and they learn. And so large territory, they run far and fast, and they're smart. It's an extremely difficult animal to hunt and to manage. So that's going to do, I guess I'll just throw out the harvest statistic for wolves. In Idaho in 2022, this includes both trapping and hunting. So the harvest, the success of wolf trappers and hunters in Idaho was 0.006%. And so, yeah, just very difficult to manage, which is why I'm so upset over the federal ruling that just shut down more than half of our trapping seasons in our most heavily populated wolf areas because the wolf population is just going to get out of control. I do, like I said, I think in a previous story, I have heard through the grapevine that our wolf population count is going to be down, and I think there's by drastic numbers, and I'm interested with that because, like I said, I've always thought our actual population that we get is a low estimate of what we really have in Idaho, but with the number I'm hearing it's going to be, it's either the count was wrong, somehow maybe there was a malfunction, or like I said, maybe this is not the best way of counting the wolf population with 560 game cameras. So either the count was wrong, or because we've had over 1,100 wolves, some years closer to 1,500 wolves in Idaho, our ungulate population has decreased so much that the wolves have run out of food. And so either they're dying because they don't have food, or they're leaving our state to go to other states, hey Colorado, to feast because their food source has been depleted here because we did not manage them well. And then also another possibility, which can come with an overpopulation of a species, is disease, and they could also be dying off of that. So I don't know the answer to that. Those are just speculations. If the wolf count comes out to what I'm being told, those are my theories on it. But yeah, I will, like I said, I'm going to try to post some sort of educational thing once a week or once every 2 weeks. And moving on, my goal here is going to be bringing information to you. So you as hunters and trappers, no matter what capacity, whether you're a hound hunter, bird hunter, use a crossbow, I don't care. We all are in a fight for our rights because across the nation, they are getting taken away one by one, and it's only a matter of time until it affects you.